Yo, what's good, y'all? Welcome back to another video on Back to the Drawing Board Network. We are back with a WNBA style video like I did last year, talking about the CBA deal. But this year we're going to still be talking about the CBA deal, but also, get into the befores and afters and what the WNBA looks like now with the new CBA deal, the benefits and things they could still improve on, because it's not perfect, but it's it's better than what we had. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and let's get right into things. Starting off first with the salary cap and the team cap and kind of the tiers they have for like salary base and in general team cap. Previously, the salary cap was 1.5 million for each team. That was like the max each team could spend on players, coaching staffs, and whatever else to like improve their team. The minimum you could get as a player was like 60 to 70 something K. Isn't horrible, but it's also not great. The max you get is like 214 around there, which is, decent. The super max you get is 249K. Like I said, these contracts for, in my opinion, like 2018, 2020 WNBA, to me, pretty standard. It was just like okay, but I think like post 2020, you still being on these same contracts are kind of bad. But then again, I think in 2018, 2019, they were in like a different CBA. They were in like a previous CBA from like the past two ones. So maybe it was very different. Maybe it was even worse then. Maybe it was even worse than that, and they're looking at that as an improvement. But being in like 2024, 2025 with that same CBA, it just, to me, it just wasn't working, especially if you see the product grow in those years. But in the new CBA, you have a team salary cap of 7 million, which is projected to jump up to like 11 million by like 2032. The minimum you could get now as a player is around like 270 to like 300, I think. The average you get, I think, is like somewhere like the $500 range, which is pretty decent money for like, average players, I would say. The max you get is 1.2 million and the super max is 1.5 million. And we've seen a couple players get maxes and super maxes. Overall, some pretty beneficial things just in terms of team and individual players and the money they could be making. Next is the revenue share. The revenue share was a big discussion for the the Players Association and what they're really fighting for, because if we're bringing in more money, we should be getting paid more. I think that's just simple. Now, that's something I was saying in the video I made about a couple months ago. I don't feel like 6 months ago. I don't remember where I made that video, but yeah, to me that was the biggest thing. Like if we're bringing money in, we should get paid accordingly. We should make money on our jerseys and our merch and team merch in general. But our jerseys and stuff like that, and our likeness and whatever, we should be able to make money. We shouldn't have to go overseas to make a decent amount of money. Nowadays, if they want to go overseas, they could. That's more if they feel like doing that. Yeah, they got a small portion in terms of like league revenue. Like no matter how good the league was doing, you wasn't gonna see anything above 20%. I don't even think they were seeing close to 20%. I think they were seeing maybe 5 to 10. I could be wrong about that, but I do believe it. The new system, salary cap is tied to revenue share or revenue growth, I believe. One knows I'm getting those two confused for some reason. And it's basically how I said it should be going. The bigger the league grows, like the more money it makes, the more money the players make. So if we're having like a $500 million increase, you will see more players get paid more. Like the salary caps would increase, and so like I said, I think that was a simple thing that should have been easy to like give the players. To be honest, I don't even understand what was the big hold up for that. In my opinion, I don't really see it. And some player benefits that they did see like get announced in the CBA deal. I don't know if this was previously in, but we're just gonna talk about some of these things here. Fully paid maternal leave, travel upgrades like premium flights, and whichever way you get to game via bus, via flight, whatever. Expanded retirement benefits. I don't really know what's involved with that, but more staff like medical training and doctors for the teams, which makes sense. Cannot trade pregnant players without consent. I don't even know if they was able to do that before, but look, shots on for adding that if they didn't already. Guaranteed contracts for like top picks for rookies. I I don't know. I don't know if that was like not a thing, but in any sport, to be honest, football, basketball, baseball, I believe if you're like inside that first half of that first round, you should be paid pretty pretty decent. You should be paid like that average player salary, in my opinion. Like you should get somewhere in that 500,000 range. At least that's what I would do. If I was like commissioner or I ran the league. My top picks, my top picks would get around that. The older regime with the roster rules, you get 11 to 12 players maximum on a team, which I don't know. I never feel like that's enough for a rotation. I feel like at least me, if I was running a team, like 10 rotation would be my max, and that's my max players. They added expanded roster. I think it's like 12 to 13 now, which once again not great. And something with development, something to help with player development, which that was one of my big talking points last year, or the last time I talked about it, was the player development and them not having, in terms of like facilities and places to train, work out, all this stuff. But I think a bigger thing is that you don't have a developmental league to help you, like I said, develop players. And without you having this league to help develop players, it's going to be hard to do that. Because you can do that via training camp and signing people like to 10 days or, I believe if you have a developmental league, you could be able to call people up, bring people down, fluctuate. Some people to two-way contracts, that helps too. Yeah, I think they're gonna get to that point eventually, but I think they should have added that because just based off what you see now, like a lot of players are gonna get waived because you only have like 13 players max, which is like I said, improvement. But if you had like a little developmental G League team, you could just sign those players to those G League teams. I think we're gonna get that within hopefully the next couple years. Hopefully you don't have to wait till a new CBA deal to get a developmental league. Because like a lot of these players, like I said, are gonna have to go overseas, just training their own time until they get called up or called back. Really, yeah, I think that's one of the main things with me, at least, in the CBA thing. That is a big issue. There's no developmental league. And speaking of like games being played, previously it was 40, and I think 40 is a decent number of games to be played. The thing I have found with the NBA is that 82 is too much games. Like, it's way too many games. Like, by the time I get to like February, not that you're burnt out on games, but say like the first month or two of basketball games in the NBA don't really matter that much. I believe it matters right before the All Star break and right after the All Star break. Those two periods, like I think we've even seen it. Teams turn around, like the Hornets and the Clippers. We really see them turning around like halfway through the season. Because the Clippers were pretty bad last year, and they still managed to become a playing team. They lost in the playing anyway, but that's not important. But like I said, like I think 82 is too much. I think a good medium for me would be somewhere between like 50 and 60. Like maybe like 51 to like 67. I don't know, something around there. 50 to 60 games is a good median for me, to where I'm getting the right amount of games throughout the season, so I don't feel like, oh, this first half of the season don't matter, or this second half of the season don't matter. That's how I feel like with the NBA, because like, you know who your top teams are gonna be. At least you know who your top three seeds are gonna be. At least you should in your conference. And like, when once you get halfway through, it's like, either this team is really not gonna fall off, or they're not gonna fall off that much, or they're either not gonna be good, or they're not gonna be that much better than they were previously. That's just how I feel. But anyways, once again, another little tangent. It was previously 40 games. I know I'm gonna be jumping up to like 52 games by a couple seasons. Up it a little bit. 40 is a little bit too low. I think you could go to like 50, and then you could stay there for a little bit, and then maybe the max I want to see is like 65 games. I don't want to see no more than that, because we have too many leagues with long seasons. MLB is 190 something games, or 180 something games. That's too much baseball. NBA regular season is not 100. It's damn near 100. It's at 82. Once again, too long of a season. Let's get into free agency and some notable signings that each team, or at least most. Let's get into the point. I'm not gonna go through every team, but we're gonna go through some of the more important ones. Took Liberty. They signed Breanna Stewart to I believe, a 3-year max, $1.4 million deal for over 3 years. Before I get to the same thing twice. These are some of the favorites, but they kind of re-signed their whole core. Ionescu, 3-year max. Aquel Jones, 3-year max, 3.75. They also signed Satu Sabali from the Phoenix Mercury, and they also signed Rebecca Allen. Satu Sabali also got a max deal. It's reportedly a max. Some of these contract details are not like public. The numbers aren't public, but like, it's like, hey, reportedly it's a max, which I'll just take your word for it, bro. But yeah, Liberty basically re-signed their whole core. They're one of the title favorites. Even last year, they started off pretty hot, kind of fell off. I believe some people got injured on that team. So, we'll go into more depth with all that record stuff and predictions I have about the season. Las Vegas basically do the same. They signed Aja Wilson to a record deal. I believe it's a Supermax, 3 years, $5 million. Biggest deal in WNBA history. Like, deserved. If anybody deserved it. There's probably, like, I would say 3 to 5 people in WNBA currently who deserve these max contracts. And yeah, she's probably number one. Jewel Lloyd, Jackie Young both get max deals. About like $2 million, $3 million, I believe, for Jewel Lloyd, and maybe like $1 million or $2 million for Jackie Young. Phoenix Mercury also kind of re-signed some players. They re-signed Alyssa Thomas, 3-year max deal. And they also re-signed Kalia Cooper to a multi-year deal. Indiana Fever re-signed Kelsey Mitchell, Lexi Hall, Sophie Cunningham. Basically that kind of like, I don't know if you kind of call them a core, but let's just call them a core. They re-signed that core to multi-year deals. A bunch of them really close to those max numbers, like Kelsey Mitchell, close to the max numbers, but I don't think it's like quite a max. It's like near a max deal. But I guess in this new era of contracts, you call it max. Atlanta Dream, once again, this is a trend. Let's just re-sign our core, which makes sense. Brian Howard, Alicia Gray, Bree Jones. Side signed Skylar Dillon to a multi-year deal, kind of via sign and trade type of thing. They traded, I forgot who they traded, but they kind of got, I believe they traded a guard. For Dallas Wings, not really a lot of contracts going through there, but Akira Kumbawale, am I saying her name right? I hope I am. If I am, I'm still learning. She signed a multi-year 7-figure deal. Once again, numbers are not disclosed. We get into a lot of contract talks in terms of salary cap and league money, and even players, like we just talked about players' money. Well, let's get into some draft picks now. Let's get into some of these top picks. A thing that I have been heavily anticipating since these women's college basketball playoffs started. I've been watching a lot of college basketball, women's college basketball, that is. I don't really care too much about the men shit, but not about the men right now. Yeah, I watch a lot. I watch them like it started like way before. Like if you're new to the channel, we do run a podcast here. At least we used to. We still might. Who knows? I don't want to get into that. But one day we was doing a pre-show on TikTok. We was having fun on live, and a couple days before that, I met this girl on live, and she played for the University of Ohio. I thought she was pretty cool, pretty cool girl, right? And then the pre-show comes to, we do a pre-show for the podcast, and then we go do the podcast, whatever. So the pre-show, my co-host, he was just like, clown. That's what he does. He's like a troll. He just be, he don't mean nothing by it. He just be trolling. And she came in. I was like, oh, this girl, she plays for our university. Pretty cool, blah, blah. He just, he started like joking with her. And she kind of took it personal. And she made a couple posts about us on her story on TikTok, and maybe made it to her public page. I don't know, but I mean her main feed. I don't know. I seen that. I tried to reach out and like smooth it over. Didn't really work out. But the next game she played, because she was in the I forget what the thing is called before the women's college playoff. It's like a little bracket thing. I forget what it's called. It's something to get you into the actual fucking March Madness shit. I forget what it's called. I'm blanking right now. But it was that game. She had the best game of her life. She had like 22 and 11, and she's not really a 22 and 11 type of girl. No disrespect, actually, no disrespect. She wasn't really a 22 and 11 type of girl. But that game, she had the best game of her life, and she could probably thank him for that. I'll be honest, she probably should thank him for that. But honestly, the next game, after she had that monster game, she didn't have such a good game after that. I'll be honest, she didn't really have such a good game after that. She kind of came back down to life, which, she could thank us for doing that. Maybe we should talk more shit to her. But anyways, like I was saying, I got really into it after that, and I started watching like a bunch of games, And I was really enjoying watching a bunch of games. There's a couple teams I do like in particular. I don't like going for like top teams, but I do enjoy seeing top teams. So I do enjoy watching them. I'm not a big fan of top teams. Two teams I do like, in fact, are Notre Dame and Virginia. Those are my two teams. I'm not really my two, but two teams I do like being a fan of. I'm probably gonna stick with Virginia. I do like Notre Dame though. I do like Notre Dame. Really fun team to watch. Well, anyways, watch a lot of things. I'm not like an expert or anything of these games. I'm just really enjoying it. Anyways, let's get into these draft picks. Top pick. Dallas Wings. They could use a lot. They kind of could use anything right now. I didn't think they would go guard. Honestly, I didn't really think so. But, based on storyline, they were going to go with this pick. They go AG Fun, number one. Yeah, I think that was kind of a no-brainer for them. For storyline reasons, and it's a good fit. The reason I didn't think it because they have Ariko Akumbawal. I'm saying her name wrong, but I think they'll go guard for that reason because now they have like basically 3 top guards in the league. So, I think she's a good fitness. I think she's a good shooter. She's pretty good in catch and shoot. She can play too. A pretty good facilitator. I think she'll be good. I think she'll fit right in. I think where she will struggle is probably being aggressive on the court. But with that team with Paige and Enrique, I think I think she'll fit right in. Honestly. But number 2 pick, the Minnesota Lynx select Olivia Miles. Did I really expect this pick? I'll be honest, I didn't really expect this. I was hoping Olivia Miles would go to the Mystics. I was really hoping that, but just how the team roster shaped up, I was like, okay, maybe he wasn't gonna go to. He wasn't going to Mystic. But her going to the Lynx, I believe this is a good team for her. You have a good guard in one of the stud, but I can't remember her name right now. It's not like really clicking to. But I think she'll fit right in. I think Olivia Miles is. I would admit, I think she is one of the best players coming out of this draft. I do think she's better than AZ. I do think she's the best player in this draft class. I'll be honest with you. In terms of upside and what she can do, because she's an aggressive scorer. She can definitely attack the rim, shoot the ball at a decent rate, and her facilitating abilities is off the charts. Like a friend of mine was calling her like the female Magic Johnson. And it's true. Like the way she can pass the ball, facilitate, and like hit these with like pinpoint accuracy. It's like, bro, she's literally hooping crazy. Like if you ever seen her at Notre Dame or even TCU this past season, she's incredible, bro. I think I'll be honest. I like if I was to redraft, I think I would pick her number. I don't know. Number two is not a horrible pick, but I think she's the best player in this draft class. I think she's. I'm not gonna say way better. I think she's better than AT4. I think she's better than any person you can name in this draft class. Very high praise for her. I'm a love watching her. Shout out to someone like Awa Fam at number 3. I don't really know much about her because she is a overseas player. I didn't really watch a lot of overseas. The only time I did watch overseas is when Team USA was in like the FIBA qualifiers, and we saw a little bit of some overseas people, but for the most part, yeah, I'm not too familiar with her, and I'm not gonna act like I am. I'm not gonna like no, I'm just not too familiar with her. So, but I do see that she's a big and pretty good on the glass, pretty good on the boards, and Storm's gonna really use her. And number 4, my team, my favorite team, the Washington Mystics, select Lauren Betts at number 4. I like this pick. I'll be honest with you, I do. I'm not too excited. Like I said, I wanted to get Olivia Miles, but just based how the roster ended up turning out, I can see why we didn't really take Olivia Miles at not didn't really take her. Well, didn't really have a chance to take her, and it probably wouldn't have made sense. We kind of do need a big. We kind of really don't have bigs. We are running Kiki Airfin and Shakira Austin at our big. We need like legit some tall depth down there. We need some size down there. I like I said, I like how this team shaped up. I think she's probably the best fit. Like other than me being selfish and one Olivia Miles at number 4, I think she's the best fit, to be honest. With Lottie Johnson, she went to the she was picked up by the Valkyrie, but traded to the Storm. You know, it's to me that was kind of a weird pick, but Storm looks like a good team, bro. Storm looks like a very capable team. And Flossie Johnson is a good pick via trade, by the way. After you just get all of him, and then you also get Flossie Johnson. I think this was a stacked draft. Just talking about my team in particular, I think my team did a very good job. Yeah, like we got Lauren Betts, we got Cotty McMahon, we got somebody else who I can't remember, but most importantly, in like the second round, I think it was early second round, maybe it was late. No, I think it was late second round. We got Roy Harmon, and Roy Harmon pretty good guard for us. I really like Roy Harmon. Our game is pretty good. I seen some preseason of her. She's, I really hope she's not like a late cut. I don't record this is like what May 3rd, I believe. I believe the season starts on like May 4th, May 5th. I could be wrong about that, but I believe so. So, yeah, I really hope Rory Harmon stays on the team. She's gonna be one of my favorite players off the bench if she does. It's fortunate enough to get in, but I believe she will be. I believe I really like Mystics, my favorite team right now. Oh, it always has been my favorite team, but I think we're a sneaky team. I think we could really sneak into the playoffs. Last year, we were sneaking into the playoffs until we traded uh Brittany Skies. After we traded her, we were kind of like, yeah, not as good. We were still competing, but we just wasn't, where we should have been. Now, I think we should get into some predictions. I'm going to give you my predictions on, to me, the top three teams in the league right now, based off how, like, roster and potential for like winning a title. To me, I think number one, you got to go Aces. You basically keep that core of A'ja Wilson, Jackie Young, and Chelsea Gray together. And I think when you keep a core together, especially after you win a championship, I think that's what you need to do. You need to keep from the role players, from the top people, and like obviously you can add some depth at the bottom. You probably add some new players too, but to me, like just keeping those players is the most important thing to me because I I could be wrong about this, but in the beginning of the last year, they weren't that good of a team, and then after that All Star break, they just turned it on. They just they're like, okay, it's getting time. We got to like really lock in. And then it just showed who the best player in the league was. It really just showed after like the All Star break, the run A'ja Wilson was going on, that team how they were playing, really showed the best player. And yeah, I think that team is destined for a deep playoff run again. Number two, I'm gonna go New York Liberty. Last year they were pretty good at the first half, and injuries hit them. A couple injuries, but like I said, you have three MVP level players on your team, and Brianna Stewart, Sabrina Ionescu, and Jacko Jones. Like you have three people that could get there, and you also signed Satu Sapu. So I believe like that team, if they can stay healthy, and if everything just works out for them in that conference, um, once again, I believe they go on deep playoff run. They almost did it. Like even though Brianna Stewart was injured in that playoff game against I believe it's Mercury. I think it was. Even though they're injured about that, Rihanna Stewart almost carried that team on her back. I really gotta go back and watch that game after I'm done recording this because that was a really fucking good game. It's a really good game. You almost seen like the comeback was almost there. That fourth quarter she was going on, where she was just coming down and hitting shots. I was just like, yo, she's like, yeah, this is what like great players are made of. Man. You gotta respect shit like that. Gotta respect shit like that. I don't know. Number three is kind of a toss up for me because I genuinely want to say like Indiana Fever. I want to say Indiana Fever because I really do like that team that they have. They got a couple young players there. They got a couple of vets. They got a couple. I think that team really shapes out to be something. But I think I'm gonna stay safe and I'm gonna go Phoenix Mercury. Do I want to say? I guess yeah. I'm gonna say Phoenix Mercury. I don't really see any other team like popping like they did. Maybe Atlanta. Yeah, I would say to me, toss up between Phoenix Mercury and Atlanta Dream. I believe the Atlanta team is very deep. Um, they didn't really lose anybody. They kind of just added Angel Reese for 2 first rounds. I don't know, man. That's just good to me, bro. Yeah, but I have some sneaky teams I think could make noise too. I think Dallas wins. I think I would not be surprised if they somehow sneak into the playoffs. I wouldn't say sneak. I think they could like firmly get into the playoffs. Let me not say firmly, but I believe they could be a playoff team. Um, I said my Washington Mystics. I think that's a pretty good team. I don't think it's horrible. I don't think it's great. I don't think we'll make a deep. Even if we do make the playoffs, I don't think we'll make a deep playoff run if we do. I think we'll be like just like how I said like Dallas win could sneak into the playoffs. I believe we would like for sure sneak into the playoffs. Like definitely. Um, yeah. Like I said, I like that team is like really young. Like no one on that team. outside of Shakira Austin has like more than 5 years of experience. And I think she's at like just hitting her fifth year. So most people are like at year 2, year 3 rookies. It's just like we don't really have that much experience. So I believe that could fuck us up. And in the beginning and in the end, I believe that's gonna be one of our like downfalls. Just we're kind of too young, but I think we'll be a fun team. But I don't like to do this, but I'm gonna give my top 3 teams I don't think is gonna be like anything. Number 1, Chicago Sky. When they traded Angel Reese, I was very happy because I'm like, okay, this great player is gonna get off this team and go to a better team and probably gonna flourish and be, good. But a couple players that I like end up going to this team, like Skylar Diggins and Rakita Jackson. I was I was not happy about that, to say the least. I was I'm not gonna say very angry about it, but I was like, yeah, I feel like people go to this team to die, bro. It's one of them teams, bro. To me, it's like the Washington Wizards, the Brooklyn Nets, teams like that, man. This team just doesn't look like it's run very well. I don't know who's running this team, bro. I don't know who the GM is. I don't know nothing about this team. You got 2 players I really like on that team, and they're gonna go there to possibly die. It's gonna be a waste of a season for them, which is like, damn, because you have 1 star player and Scar Diggins, and you have a Rakia Jackson who's coming off a really good rookie campaign, and just like there's nothing there. But you have Camila Cardoso I really like on that team, and that's where the fun stops. To be honest with you, no disrespect to anybody else on that team, but for me personally, that's where the fun stops. Connecticut Suns. Last year, to me, one of the worst teams in the league. Genuinely. Um, the first game I seen, they were facing my Mystics, and they were up by, I want to say like 15 at one point. There was something pretty like decent, 10 plus for sure. And then Brittany Scott just came down and like really was playmaking, hitting shots, getting to the rim, and I was like, damn, either our team is really good or this Suns team is like generationally bad. And I watched them for the rest of the season. And I was right. They're pretty fucking bad. Don't get me wrong, they didn't have much on their team. They weren't that great, obviously. Holy shit. But for me personally, I don't see no upside in this. You get Brittany Griner. There's not much here. I don't really know why she went to this team. Um, there's nothing here for me. You guys will be picking high in the next year's draft. You'll probably get a good player too, but I don't know what y'all doing here. I think lastly we're getting some MVP talks. Number 1, I think has to be AJ Wilson. I believe this will be her like the 3rd or 4th MVP, maybe 5th. I don't really know. But I believe she's just like gonna be the favorite coming into the season, and I genuinely think she has the most. Like if she was betting me, I believe she has the most upside to win it. If her team does well, she's gonna put up numbers, barring any injuries. She's gonna put up numbers, and I believe she's like damn near a lock to get that MVP. Number 2, I'm gonna go Brianna Stewart. Once again, I believe barring any injuries, she's like a top 3 player in this league, maybe top 4, depending on what type of players you like. But I believe she's like right there. I'm talking about the best players in the league. I believe she's on MVP. I know I said the New York Liberty had like 3 MVP level players, but if there's anybody that was going to win it on the Liberty, I believe it would be her. Like Serena Ionescu could, But I'll be honest. I would, if I'm to bet on both of them, I'm definitely putting money on Brianna Stewart. Number three for me, um, kind of a hot take because she's been hurt a little bit. I'm gonna go Caitlin Clark. I believe once again staying healthy, and I believe when she's healthy, that team does obviously way better. I don't think that's a question. Um, I believe she could average upwards of like 22 points, and she's gonna have probably like 5 assists in there, and she's gonna shoot pretty overall good. I think she could win MVP. I think if they get like a top three seed and she's averaging like 20, 22, 23, 24, something around there, yeah, I believe she could get MVP. Number four, Alyssa Thomas. I think she's like a triple double waiting to happen, bro. Like she's like I see like a lot of um I want to say I think Olivia Miles takes up after her. Obviously, Olivia Miles is not as like strong or drive centered as her, but I think she could be. I think she could be the same level player as her. All right, we talked about a lot. CBA contracts, salary caps, a lot of money talks, draft picks. A lot of opinions, predictions, and whatnot. Be sure to tell me I'm wrong about everything I said, because chances are I will be wrong. So sure to do that. They will have some discussion about this, man. Let's make this league great again. Or I don't know if it's ever great, but that's what one. Let me get it. All right, bye.